This podcast is sponsored by FortuneFavors.ie. FortuneFavors.ie is a home workout equipment store and your one-stop shop for all home gym equipment. They are well known for their adjustable dumbbells, which combine 15 different weights in one dumbbell. They have both 24 kg and 40 kg adjustable dumbbells. Check the link in the bio of this episode for more information. So welcome back to the RTÉ Statsman podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Hurley, here to host the review of the All-Ireland Football Final, review of the whole year, and I'm delighted to be joined here by Seamus Brady for the Play on GA podcast just to discuss this weekend's All-Ireland Final between Kerry and Galway. A very entertaining game. I was at it myself, unbelievable atmosphere, and Kerry won the All-Ireland by 4 points to the end, the first time since 2014 that they've done that. Jack O'Connor has worked his magic yet again. I suppose, first of all, Seamus, how you can be keeping, I know Kerry winning the All-Irelands is not ideal for either of us as Cork and Dublin fans, but at the same time, look, it was a brilliant final to watch, and the season's over just like that in July.
Yeah, bizarre. I mean, coming from two lads like ourselves, that September was always the date for the All-Ireland final. It was always the first Sunday in September, and now it's just been steadily getting pushed back, and then all of a sudden it's back in mid-July. Like, that's crazy. And I mean, yeah, like, look, Kerry deserve it. They absolutely have been. They've been flawless pretty much throughout the championship. Great performance in the quarterfinal against Mayo, just absolutely putting them to bed. Great victory over Dublin in the semi-final, where they really showed some serious bottle, some serious resilience in that side. Great defense as well, holding that Dublin forward line to 113, and then remaining pretty composed against Galway in the final. At stages when the game looked like it might be going against them, they clutched up at big moments, and performances from the likes of David Clifford just absolutely sensational. I mean, you know, the rounds are going around about Clifford already. Like, is he up there with one of the greatest of all time? I genuinely definitely would say that I've never seen a player at 22, 23 years of age as good as David Clifford is. He's absolutely terrifying how good he is. And multiple times throughout that game, he just stepped up and was made to be counted. And he dragged Kerry through that game at a time when Shane Walsh was doing all the business down the other end. It was Clifford against Walsh in that first half, and you're right, it was an absolute joy to watch.
Yeah, it was a very good game to watch, all right. And like we were thinking, the first 20 minutes that Galway really were putting up to Kerry. They scored some magnificent points. There was one stage as well, I was looking back on Twitter afterwards, Johnny Heaney, he could have even volleyed it into the net, and Kerry would have been really on the back foot then. Kerry didn't score from play until the 18th minute. Like, Kerry, I was around Kerry fans at that point in the Davin end, and they were nervous as hell. Like, they were absolutely bricking it, you know, that Galway could win this after Sean O'Shea kicking it over the bar up into the hill in the semi-final. That point would have gone to waste if they would have lost this game. Like, but they hung in there, Kerry. That's the main thing. And despite Galway's dominance in the first half, especially, Kerry were only losing by a point.
Yeah, and that was one of the key moments of the game that everyone watching could see that Kerry were not playing as well as they could. And the fact that Galway only went in 1 point ahead, like, they needed to be further ahead. They needed to have a goal up on the board at that point. They needed a bit of daylight between the teams, because Kerry have always put the burners on in the second half and then kind of kicked into the gear and kicked way more points in the second half than they do in the first. I think Galway's performance in the first half was fantastic. You're right. The passes that John Daly was hitting into the forwards were just crisp. They were perfect. I think a massive shout out we have to give to Jason Foley and to Graham O'Sullivan in the corners there in the fullback line for Kerry, because Galway had them on the back foot in that first half. Galway were the ones producing more attacks, yet Jason Foley did not allow Damien Comer to score. He didn't even allow him to have a shot of note. And Graham O'Sullivan as well completely shut down Rob Finnerty. And you're looking at it thinking that, look, Galway were on top in that first half. And if Damien Comer managed to get the better of Jason Foley, and if Rob Finnerty managed to get the better of Graham O'Sullivan, with Galway already being on the attack a lot of the time, Comer would have done damage and Finnerty would have done damage as well as Shane Walsh doing all the damage that he did. So if Foley and Graham O'Sullivan didn't turn in fantastic performances, Kerry would have been a lot further behind at halftime. Because you look at the damage that Comer did against Derry in that semi-final. Brendan Rodgers up until that point had been flawless. He'd man-marked Michael Murphy out of the game in the Ulster final, and Comer put him on toast and had him in his pocket for the whole game. So for Jason Foley to shut down Comer and for Graham O'Sullivan to shut down Rob Finnerty, I don't think they'll get the credit they deserve. But by God, their role in Kerry not being completely out of sight at halftime from Galway is can't be underestimated.
And that's a very good point, actually, because my next point was actually about the attackers, comparing both sides. While Jason Foley and Graham O'Sullivan were doing very well in the full back line, Tom O'Sullivan had points as well for Kerry. Galway still only missed 2 chances in the first half. They were absolutely incredible. Kerry, on the other hand, in the first half had 7 wides. And I was behind the goal. They were absolutely pot shots. Even Clifford was taking them. Sean O'Shea missed a few as well. Stephen O'Brien. There was a few going the wrong way. And do you honestly think that was down to nerves with this Kerry team? Because maybe the Sean O'Shea kick against Dublin in the semi-final put that little bit of pressure on Kerry in the early stages. And do you think that pressure kind of translated onto the pitch, especially in the first half?
Yeah, without doubt. I think Kerry have been expected to win the All-Ireland from 2018, really, since these lads broke into the side. It was right, here we are, here's the golden team. And, you know, they got to the final in 2019 and it didn't happen for them on the day. They got completely humiliated in 2020, dumped out at the Munster semi-final stage by Cork. And then 2021, they look like they're putting it together. And then Tyrone just, again, run through the centre of their defence 3 times, get 3 goals and knock them out of the championship. And this was the first time now that they're back in the final since 2019. And all the pressure is on them. Make no mistake, they brought in Jack O'Connor because he gets results. They brought in Jack O'Connor because he wins All-Ireland titles. But Jack O'Connor can only control so much. If David Clifford has a stinker, like, forget about how good a manager Jack O'Connor is. Like, if David Clifford doesn't hit 8 points in the game for Kerry, they don't win the All-Ireland. So it's one of those things where that shows to me just how much of a leader and how good David Clifford is, because he's a young lad. He's the face of this team. I mean, his photo was up as a billboard for their after party in D2 before the game had even been played. All that pressure was on him, and a lot of criticism would have gone his way if Kerry hadn't won this game. So for him to stay calm and just stay doing his thing, knocking over the points, it shows that his mentality, he has a champion's mentality. And to go with his skill, that's terrifying, because like, he has the talent of a Messi and he has the talent of a Ronaldo, but he has the mentality of a Michael Jordan in a sense that he just doesn't care. He's just relentless. He just keeps going. He just keeps going. And I was saying, if he keeps that mentality, he probably will go down as the greatest of all time. But in this game, he was absolutely leading the way for Kerry when all else around him were getting nervous. I mean, Sean O'Shea had a bit of a poor first half. He didn't score from play in the entire game. David Moran completely ran out of steam in the first half. A lot of lads were getting nervous that you wouldn't associate with being nervous. And Clifford was the one that held firm, held calm. And without him and without Jason Foley and Graham O'Sullivan, as I mentioned, I think Kerry would have been in a bad way at halftime and Galway might have gone on to win.
Yeah, definitely so. And you mentioned Clifford was absolutely credible as well. 8 points overall in this final. What a scoring tally from him. And the 2 marks he gave to the first half were just top drawer. Like, I think Tommy Rooney mentioned on Twitter that a mark should count for scores from play. Maybe he was maybe at me though, but honestly, looking at his marks in this game, I'd have to say there's an argument for that because of how good they were catching the high balls. He put Sean Kelly on toast throughout the whole game in that first half, and especially the second half as well. But honestly, there was a moment in the game. I don't know, would you have made anything of this? He goes and trips Sean Kelly. Maybe if that was some other player, it might have been a red card. Galway fans were pretty angry around the stadium in Croke Park. What were your thinking of this, Seamus? Do you think it would have been a red card if it was anybody but Clifford, or do you think it's really something made out of nothing?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of an overreaction. I think like a yellow I think is fair enough for that. I mean, you're talking about the one where you hit Kelly under the chin, eh? Yeah. I don't think that was as bad as people reacted to it. I think, look, Clifford just went in hard. He didn't mean to catch him. I mean, the two lads, they were college students together. Like, they know each other. Like, I don't think Clifford's going to break his jaw there. Like, I think he went in hard, and he went in. He just mistimed it, I think, a little bit. And he got his punishment. Fair enough. If you want to look at it from that way, if you're a Galway fan, you're saying, oh, Clifford, Conor Gleeson, by the letter of the law, should have been black-carded. I mean, literally sprinted out of his goal for no reason and pulled Killian Spillan's jersey after Spillan had rounded him. That's pretty much a definition of a black card, and he got away with it. So I think if you're saying that Clifford should have been red-carded, Gleeson should have been black-carded 5 times. So, like, I think that's my stance on that.
Yeah, I always agree with you as well, even as a Cork fan or a Dublin fan. Like, it might have been something made out of nothing. Like, we know about this with David Clifford. A lot of players or a lot of fans are going to put pressure on him to do something rash. But maybe it's just calmness, as you mentioned to Michael Jordan, that he doesn't get involved in these things. That's something that David Clifford has in abundance, definitely. And something that Kerry had in abundance as well is the tactical decisions on the side. I know in the second half, Kerry needed something. I know Pat Spillane was emotional afterwards because of these guys making a difference, and you might say, oh, that's attention and all that on social media. But honestly, Killian and Adrian made such a difference when they came on. Killian hit 2 points. Adrian was energetic throughout midfield coming on for David Moore. Like, those two guys, Spillane's, they carry on the family's name, don't they?
Oh, without doubt. I mean, I've always said that I think Killian Spillane is one of the most underrated clutch players of the last 5 years. And I do genuinely think that he came on and he clutched up against Dublin in that final. You know, his first All-Ireland final, and he scores a goal and a point down into the hill. And that was the moment where I genuinely thought Kerry were going to win that game at that moment. I thought, oh, it's a 5-0, it's all falling apart. But he, again, one thing that people don't remember is before Mark Keane's goal against Kerry, before Mark Keane's goal for Cork, Kerry looked like they were in a position where they were about to win the game because of Killian Spillane. He'd come on and he'd hit 3 points in a game where David Clifford was having a stinker. And the other lads weren't stepping up for Kerry. They brought Killian Spillane on and he hit 3 points. And Kerry looked like they were about to win. And then the Mark Keane goal happened. I've always looked at him as someone that you can turn to in moments where you need a score, and Killian Spillane will provide it. And he came on there, he kicked a beautiful point off his left foot, and he fisted over another point when Kerry absolutely needed a score. Adrian Spillane as well. David Moran had gassed. It was a big decision by Jack O'Connor to take him off because Moran's, he's such a household name there in Kerry, and he's been their key midfielder for the last 10 years, really. And for O'Connor to take him off and put in Adrian Spillane just brought so much more energy, so much more mobility to that midfield. And he was able to keep up a lot better with Conroy, able to keep up a lot better with McDade. And that, I think, the fact that Kerry had those subs to turn to was massive in them getting over the line. Even people like Paul Murphy, all the experience that he has, having him to come in. Whereas Galway on the other side were relying on the likes of Cathal Sweeney, relying on the likes of Owen Finnerty, lads that are young, they don't have a lot of championship experience. And while they did do well, like they came in and they played well, they're not on the level of Killian Spillane and Adrian Spillane to have to bring in. And just a little side point to add on to that, I was saying it on Aaron's podcast there yesterday that a lot has been made about the amount of lads that Pádraig Joyce has kind of gotten rid of out of the Galway panel from Kevin Walsh's team. And there was only 3 of them that started that 2018 final, that started the final this time, which is crazy. That was still a good, solid Galway team. That was still a good team. And that Galway team and those Super 8s in 2018, they beat Kerry, and they beat them quite comfortably. And that was a Kerry team that had David Moran, had David Clifford, had Sean O'Shea, and Galway beat them. And, they had the likes of Sean Andy O'Callig at fullback. They had the likes of Eamon Brannigan, Antoine O'Lee, Ian Burke won an all-star there at corner forward. And I was saying, look, coming into the last 10, 15 minutes, what if they were able to bring on Peter Cook, Antoine O'Lee, Ian Burke, rather than bringing on these lads that don't have that much inter-county experience, let alone beating Kerry, which Peter Cook, Antoine O'Lee, Ian Burke, they've experienced beating Kerry, and they would not even attempt to be afraid of that Kerry team. They would have came on, stuck their chests out. And I just feel like maybe a bit more squad depth for Galway there really could have helped them when it came down to it.
Yeah, definitely so. And that probably shows from the scoring statistics towards the end of the game. Actually, Galway only managed 2 points inside the last 15 or 20 minutes. I mean, that probably lost the game for them. Like, with Kerry subs bringing on, like, I don't, but Tony Brosnan might have come on, but even if he did come on, I'm not entirely sure. But if he did, that was very late. And Tony Brosnan has been the best club player in Kerry for years now. And he can't even get in the team or get on quick enough, you know. And look at the players on the Kerry bench: Joe O'Connor, you look at Jack Savage, Stefano Cumbar, like unbelievable players. And probably that won the game for Kerry in the end, the subs they had to bring on. And when you look at the subs that could have come on as well, Gavin Crowley, another one with experience, like Kerry had an unbelievable bench. And that was a very good reason on why they won the All Ireland at the end.
Yeah, no, just because as well as that, those lads, we saw it with Tyrone. When people were saying, oh, they only lost Tiernan McCann, they only lost, the likes of Ronan O'Neill that weren't even starting for Tyrone. When McShane did that interview and he says, no, because those lads are there, your place in the team is taken the second you drop your performance by even 5% because those lads are coming right behind you. For the Kerry lads on the pitch to know that there's the likes of even Darren Moynihan I know he got injured. He was another player there. To know that Killian Spillane, Adrian Spillane, Tony Brosnan, they're all sitting there just chomping at the bit to get in. And the second you drop your performance like Paul Gainey did, gone. The second you drop your performance like David Moran did, gone. Like, that keeps the other lads right up there at the pinnacle of what they can do because they know they're not guaranteed a start in this Kerry team, which does inspire all the other players to push themselves as hard as they possibly can. And that brings them on to another level. With Galway, like for me, Robert Finnerty didn't have his best game at all, and he was left in there for the full game. Whereas if they had an all-star forward like Ian Burke there, who could come in and just offer something a bit different. Eamon Brannigan has pace to burn. He could come in and offer something a bit different. They didn't have anything different to offer there. And I was saying that I did think going into this game that Robert Finnerty would be shut down because of the way that Dean Rock got shut down. Dean Rock, a very similar player to Robert Finnerty, come off the shoulder at the right time, take the shot. Neither of them are particularly the quickest or the biggest or the strongest, but they both have very good kind of football IQs. Their movement is very good. Their timing is very good. But the way that Dean Rock didn't even get a shot at the post from play, I didn't think Finnerty would either, and he didn't. And because that's happened, Galway needed to hit Kerry with something different. And the fact that they just didn't have those subs meant that they couldn't. And I feel like, especially going into the last 10 minutes, like Kerry rattling off the last 4 points in a period where Galway didn't score after McDade equalised to make it 16-all. Yeah, you're right. That's why they lost.
Exactly. And I think we're talking too much about Clifford being an unbelievable player. We haven't, in this podcast, mentioned Shane Walsh. 9 points, 4 from play. Is this the best ever performance from a player that lost an All Ireland final, do you think? Because it's certainly up there. What a performance from Shane Walsh. And he is up there with one of the best players in the country. Make no mistake about it. What a player.
Oh, he's amazing. And not only that, he's such a nice player to watch as well. Like the way he kicks points, he looks like he's from the 21-yard line dropping onto his foot. And I was saying, he reminded me a lot of the Gearóid Hegarty performance in the hurling final, where when he's winding up, you're like, hardly. Like, he's hardly shot from the, he scored. Like, it's just mental what he was doing in the game. And the confidence that he had, the fact that Tom O'Sullivan was like, I was like, do you know how hard that is to get away and shoot the way that Walsh did when Tom O'Sullivan is on your heels? Like one of the stickiest, tightest, strongest cornerbacks in the game. And Walsh just tapped it over like he's from the 21-yard line kicking around with his mates. Like, he's blessed the amount of ability that he has. But as well as that, he's a proper athlete. The pace he has, how strong he is. He's literally probably the perfect player. He has everything going for him. He works damn hard for the team as well. And you're right, he did everything in his power that he could do to win that game for Galway. There's nothing more he could have done. I think he was let down, to be honest, by the performances of Comer and Finnerty. They didn't really turn up the way that they have done in previous games for Galway. And Walsh just carried it on his own. He turned up the volume of what he was able to do, and he showed us everything that he's able to do. best All-Ireland final performance by a losing player, right up there. Really right up there for me. I think Lee Keegan in 2016, I think he's a good shout. I think the job he did on Connolly that day and the goal that he scored, right up there for me as a player that gave us all. But no, you're right. Like it's right up there with the best, if not the best.
And another player I wanted to talk about as well is unusual and unsung here again for Kerry, Shane Ryan, the goalkeeper. Every game at the championship, from kickouts, he had an over 80% success rate. That's incredible. And you look at Kerry down through the years, you'd always say, oh, they're like the Brazil of GA. They don't have a good goalkeeper, but they have brilliant players outfield. The way to develop Shane Ryan into this type of goalkeeper, where he was a bit flappy though in 2019, 2020, but now he is up there with one of the best goalkeepers in the game. No mistake about that right now. Like, how much has he improved over the last few years as well?
Oh no, he's been incredible. Like he's one thing he's absolutely just a level up on the other goalkeepers is Dublin floated a massive big high ball in on Shane Ryan in that semi-final. He plucked it out the sky like there was no one near him. He's very calm under the high ball. His kickouts are really good. He boomed over a free against Mayo back in the league, and it was like, oh, he can kick points as well. Like, because at the start of the year, I mean, Kerry over the last few years had swapped between Shane Ryan, Shane Murphy, Kieran Fitzgibbon, Brian Kelly. Like they've been very unsettled on the goalkeeper since Brendan Keeley left the panel. And it was one of those positions where that doesn't inspire a lot of confidence in the goalkeepers themselves, because then naturally they might feel like, oh, well, am I going to get changed? Then it has repercussions for the kick out system as well, because, you know, well, Shane Ryan can do this, Shane Murphy can do this, Kieran Fitzgibbon can do this. Like, they went with Ryan. Jack O'Connor said, right, Shane, you're my man. You're in goal. And he's just been excellent. He's been excellent. His kickouts are really good. He seems to have a very good relationship there with the defense, and he's only conceded one goal in the entire championship. Like, that's pretty damn good.
It's unbelievable, all right, and definitely up there with one of the best goalkeepers' performances from this season. And before we get into the team of the years, Kerry deserving All-Ireland champions, no arguments really.
No, I think they've, like I said, Kerry from the start, they've breezed through the league, they breezed through Munster, and look, they kept their nerve, they kept their heart, they kept their heads up when things did get tough. Yeah, we're the All-Ireland champions for me.
Absolutely, definitely agree with you, Kerry. Congratulations to all the Kerry players, Kerry fans. Unbelievable. You deserve your victory. And maybe you could go on 4 in a row or 5 in a row, or maybe even a 6 in a row. We'll have to see about Kerry in the next few years. Hopefully that's for your sake, Seamus, or for Aaron. That doesn't happen. But we'll have to see over the next few years or so. But we're going to touch on the team of the years now, and we're going to stick with the professionals first before my team, and maybe you'll have your own say as well, Seamus, on this as well. I'm going to start with the Sunday Games team of the year. This got loads of flack over social media, so I'll name it here. Shane Ryan in goal, as we mentioned, very good goalkeeper, obviously. Liam Sill cornerback instead of Tom O'Sullivan. I don't know about that one, honestly. Jason Foley and Chrissy McCaig to finish off. James McCarthy wing back. I'm sorry, like that's kind of a laughable pick, but we'll move. Ty Morley and Gavin White, Rian O'Neill, Killy McDade, then Paddy Clifford, Sean O'Shea, Kieran Kilkenny, David Clifford, Damon Comer, and Shane Walsh in the full forward line. Before we get into my team of the year, any arguments about that team? There's going to be a load.
Yeah, like, look, Liam Silk at cornerback, that's the first one that I'm like, really? Like, I wouldn't necessarily have put that. I have my team here in front of me, just in front of here. The differences, I actually went with Ethan Rafferty in goal. I know that Shane Ryan was brilliant, but I think for Rafferty, for the way he's changed the position now, that a lot of teams will be looking to kind of bring that into their goalkeeper. Like, there's junior C goalkeepers like going out and trying to run the pitch. Like, Rafferty's had a massive impact on that. And look, I know you have to mention the likes of Graham Brody that were doing it back in 2018 for Laois. But Rafferty's taking it to a new level and scoring 2 points from play in an inter-county game. Like, that's the first time a goalkeeper's ever done that. So I think Rafferty's a good shout there. I've gone for Chrissy McCaig from Derry, Jason Foley from Kerry, and I actually went for Tom O'Sullivan from Kerry in the full-back line. Half-back line, I went for Jarlath Burns, right half-back from Armagh, Tyg Morley from Kerry, and Gavin White from Kerry. Midfield, I went Paul Conroy and Killian McDade. Half forwards, Kieran Kilkenny, Sean O'Shea, Paddy Clifford, and then full forwards, Shane Walsh, Damien Comer, and David Clifford. I think that's reasonable enough. I do think James McCarthy, purely that performance, I know he missed a couple of games, but in terms of an individual player performance, that performance he gave against Kerry was unbelievable. He literally covered every blade of grass, and I think he deserves a shout, but I still wouldn't put him in ahead of Gavin White. Jarlath O'Byrne's, because I think his performance against Tyrone especially was absolutely incredible. And I think you could argue Rian O'Neill deserves a shout out there as well. His performances, that free that he hit against Galway was just, it's sensational. And yeah, that's my team.
My team is actually a bit similar to yours now. I'm going to name it here. Ethan Rafferty went in goal as well. And after all that, and praise Shane Ryan. But Shane Ryan was outstanding as well. But Rafferty, I just thought was much better. Even not just the Tyrone game, but the point for Jamar Hall late on against Galway, where he ran all the way up the field. What goalkeeper would do that at the end of extra time? You know, unbelievable. When all the Armagh players were tired as well, and brilliant outlet, and that's why I had him. Chris McKay, Jason Foley, and Thomas Sullivan, so the exact same as you in the full back line. The half back line, I had Tyke Moore there, I had Gavin White, same as yourself. I didn't have Jarlath O'Byrne, but that's a very good shout, a very unusual shout. I don't think anybody else has gone for that, but he's a very good performance. I went with Kieran Malloy from Galway personally. Yeah. I thought he was outstanding. I thought he, again, like Ethan Rafferty for Armagh, he's an attacking outlet for that Galway team. For Corfin, he was one of the best club players in history, really. And the way he stepped up his game for Intercounty, I thought was outstanding. Midfield, Killy McDade, I agree with you. I went with Dermot O'Connor as well from Kerry. I thought he was brilliant in midfield, so I went with him. Half forward line, I think everybody picked this half forward line, you, me, and everyone else. Paddy Clifford, Sean O'Shea, and Kieran Kilkenny. So no arguments there. Full forwards, we both went Clifford and Walsh, obviously, after their All-Ireland heroics. I went with Shane McGuigan instead of Damien Comer. I know that's a bit controversial, but I think McGuigan was unbelievable for Derry this year. His scoring record, he was the top scorer before Shane Walsh overtook him, obviously, in the All-Ireland final. That performance against Clare in the quarterfinal, I thought, was mesmerising. 1-6 from play, unbelievable performance. The way he led Derry in the forward line, I thought was admirable as well. I don't think Comer did enough in the All-Ireland final, and that was the reason I left him out. But what are your general thoughts on my team anyway? Are you a bit angered by that, or is it reasonable enough?
I think they're both great shouts. I think Malloy and Shane McGuigan definitely deserve to be shouted out for, because McGuigan is Derry's chief scorer, and like up until the Galway game, I thought he was shooting the lights out, and without him, Derry would not have won the Ulster title. Like, simple as. Another man that I think deserves a shout is Brendan Rodgers. I know he got absolutely roasted in the semi-final by Comer, but I mean, he man-marked Michael Murphy out the game in the Ulster final. He actually scored more than Michael Murphy did from play, and like, his points as well were crucial. He scored 2 points in that semi-final against Galway before Comer had his way with him, and I just think Derry wouldn't have got as far as they did without Brendan Rodgers. I think, yeah, great shout with McGuigan, great shout with Malloy as well. Malloy been doing it for years for Corofin, as you said. Great attacking outlet. He picked up, interesting enough, he was back in the full back line picking up Gainey at the start of the game. I didn't really see that matchup coming, but he's a very versatile player. He's able to pretty much play anywhere on the field. Like, I could see him doing a similar job to Johnny Heaney, say, like even a road runner like that. I think he's definitely a fantastic player, and yeah, I think it's a good show.
Yeah, I think all very good team. Myself and yourself, very good teams. Sunday game a bit questionable, but and there's more even questionable ones we were talking about off air. But the less said about those, the better. But before you go, Seamus, we wanted to go on to player of the year. I've cut to the chase. David Clifford, unbelievable performance by him. Manager of the year, in my opinion, Rory Gallagher, Ulster champion. First time he got Derry to All-Ireland semi-final since 2004. I thought he was outstanding, and Derry only lost to one team all year in Galway, including the league as well. So that was my picks anyway. Matthew Tierney probably for Young Player of the Year. So what are your picks for those awards?
Yeah, I think great. Obviously, David Clifford, Footballer of the Year for me as well. I think he was just next level, and the fact that he's in the conversation for greatest of all time at 22 or 23 is testament to how good he is. Manager, I think Gallagher, yeah, I'd be happy enough to go with that. I think Rory is has absolutely transformed Derry. I mean, you have to, like 2017, they beat Leitrim in the Division 4 final. And now he has them up, right up there challenging for promotion for Division 2 and Ulster champions within the space of such a short year. And, they got to that semi-final against Galway. And honestly, in the first 20 minutes, I thought this is being played on Derry's terms. I thought, like, this might actually go Derry's way. Galway took 20 minutes to score. We all know how it went though after, but I think Gallagher's a superb manager and he's going to get better and better with Derry, and they're absolutely right to back him and give him whatever he wants, because with this team, you see how much he's done with them in such a short space of time. Be interesting to see if the likes of Callum Brown, Anton Tohill, if these lads come back, can they get even better? I think young footballer of the year, I think Matthew Tierney's a fantastic show. I actually think the likes of Jack Glynn as well would be a good shout as well. I think the job he did on Paddy Clifford in that final was so underrated. Paddy didn't touch the ball for really the first half, and that was all because of Jack Glynn. He followed him over every blade of grass that he touched. He's a tough, tight marker. He scored a point in that final as well when it looked like the ball was about to be taken off him. He's just slotted into that Galway team like a hand into a glove, and he's only 21 years of age. He's played like a defender that's been around the block multiple times. So for me, Tierney or Jack Glynn, but I'd be happy to go with either of them.
Yeah, definitely so. And the awards, the official awards for the GPA All-Stars, that'll be in October. We'll have to see if the teams match those awards. But thank you, Seamus, for coming on. And thanks you all for watching today on the GA Statsman podcast. Go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Give the video a like and subscribe to Seamus' channel anyway. Play on GA as well. And thanks, Seamus, for coming on. Hopefully, Dublin or Cork will be much better next year. And hopefully, Kerry's road won't be too long.
Yeah, no, I think that's the one thing Dubs and Cork people can agree on.